guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're joining me for the very first time, welcome. My name is Moratwe Masima. I am a medical doctor as well as content creator. So today's video is going to be about the 5 things I wish I knew before I became a doctor. This is a video I wish I've wanted to do for a bit because I've been getting a lot of DMs and messages, emails about the fact that I inspire a lot of people to become doctors, and I think that it's such a beautiful thing, and I'm so humbled that some of you guys look at me and think that I'm doing this doctor thing well. But I actually wanted to speak about how it's such a huge decision. It's not a small decision to become a doctor, and just to basically share the 5 things I wish I knew, because I think that if I had known some of these things, I'm not sure if my decision would have been different, but I would have made a more informed decision about becoming a doctor. So yeah, if you're interested, please keep watching. So we are going to be sipping on some green tea because it's winter and it's cold, and we're going to be chatting. So the very first thing that I want to speak about is I wish I knew how much you have to sacrifice in order to be a doctor. So what I mean by sacrifice is sacrifice your time, sacrifice your hobbies, sacrifice your quality time with friends and family and anything else that you most likely grew up really loving. You have to sacrifice. So to give you a good example is we only have 2 free weekends in a month, and that's if you're lucky. So that means every other weekend we are working. We are at work and we are probably on like a 24-hour call. And I think that when I was about to choose what career to get into, I spoke to some of my high school teachers and I asked them, what advice or what should I choose? Because I was choosing between chemical engineering as well as medicine, and I spoke to some of my teachers and asked them what would be the right decision for me and what their opinion would be for what I should choose. And a lot of them asked me one simple question, and that was, are you willing to put in 6 years to study something that you're not really sure whether you want to do? So that made me really go back home and be introspective about my decision, because it's true, 6 years studying something takes its toll on you. You don't realize it until you are at the finish line, and you realize just how tired you are, how mentally drained you are, and a lot of people start questioning whether they actually want to become doctors. Specifically towards the end of final year, you enter internship, and some people still have those sentiments. So I think that the first thing you need to think about is, are you willing to put in 6 years to study something that requires so much of your time? Specific, like a lot of my weekends in mid school, I think you would see in all of my videos on my YouTube channel, I was studying, guys. I had to sacrifice all the other things that made me happy sometimes. And when your peers are out having a good time, clubbing, living their best life, you are most likely going to be sitting at home or in res studying for 6 years. And you need to think about whether you are willing to put in the work, because that's what is required in order for you to become a doctor. The second thing that I wish I knew before I got into medicine was how my mental health was going to change. So what I mean by this is, I think that even before I went into medical school, I had a bit of anxiety. I was always a bit of an anxious person because I naturally am a perfectionist. And so when you're a perfectionist, you always want things to work out a specific way, otherwise you're just not going to be happy. But I remember basically in one of my physics exams, I had a panic attack. In this exam, literally I think I got like 10 out of 60. But how it started was that I couldn't breathe for some reason and started panicking. And then I ran to the bathroom and tried to calm myself down with breathing exercises. Back then I didn't meditate, I didn't do yoga, I didn't do any of those things. But I just tried to breathe. Went back into the test, and literally all I could remember was how to write my name down And maybe I tried to calculate some things, but honestly, I got like 10 out of 60 for that test in matric. And to this day, I actually don't know how I got into med school because that test was bad. But I mean, at the end of the year, my average for physical science was 85%. So I obviously then, learned how to manage my anxiety. I had to take some Stressum at the time because I really was struggling with anxiety at that point. So obviously, anxiety followed me throughout med school. I would have specific years where it was really difficult for me to manage my stress levels, and that was second year and final year. And I look back and I think to myself, you know what? I do not recognize myself because I was making very questionable decisions and very dicey decisions because I wasn't handling the stress and the level of work that is required in med school. And one thing about being in medical school is that we are learning to be healers. We are learning to care for other people, but we are the last people to care for ourselves and for each other. So it's a very toxic environment where everybody is a go-getter. Everybody is a high achiever. If you can't keep up with the rest of the class, you're simply going to fall behind. And unfortunately, that's why our mental health always falls on the back burner. I can't tell you how many people I know in the medical field that are on antidepressants, that are have very terrible ways of coping with anxiety and depression. And I think that it's so important to consider ways of coping with anxiety and depression. And I think that it's so important to consider this before you become a doctor as well. You need to be introspective about the type of person you are. How do you handle stressful situations? How do you handle things when you panic? How do you deal with situations where you're gonna need to save someone's life, yet you're panicking? And those are the things that I also had to start thinking about and start to deal with. And that's why I do yoga, that's why I try to go to the gym as often as possible. Those are my coping mechanisms. I've tried to build strong ones, however, sometimes I've made mistakes and ended up doing things that I probably shouldn't have done in order for me to deal with my anxiety. The third thing that I would like to speak about is the fact that there is no job security in medicine. I think that we are unfortunately in such a terrible time. We're in a global pandemic. Everybody is going through something. And now more than ever, I think the stats came out that out of, 70% of the youth in South Africa is unemployed. And that is a scary statistic. And I think that for example, when I chose medicine, that was a factor. I can't lie. I looked at, okay, what jobs am I gonna go for? I want something that I know is gonna give me a job at the end of my degree. I don't like the idea of having to do interviews and being scared about not getting a job or being unemployed. But fast forward 6 years, doctors are unemployed. We are sitting in a country where unfortunately there's so many doctors that do not have jobs simply because they do not have posts from the government. Because for us in South Africa, in order for us to specialize and progress, you are specializing in the public sector, so you are specializing in government hospitals. I can't, for example, if I wanted to specialize in orthopedic surgery, for example, random selection, I would not be able to do it in a private hospital. I'd have to do it through government. But if the government isn't providing the posts, then you technically cannot do that specialization and you technically cannot get a job. So a lot of doctors are then forced to move abroad, and it's a phenomenon that's happening a lot more frequently as a result of COVID. So those are things that you also have to consider. You shouldn't go into medicine thinking you're gonna actually get a job and that there is job security, because there isn't. The fourth thing that I wish I knew before becoming a doctor was that you have to be passionate about it. I'm one of those people that are fortunate enough to have chosen the right career. Why I say this is because when I chose medicine, I wasn't sure. And I think that it's something that I share very openly because so many people ask me, how did I know that I wanted to be a doctor? Have I always seen myself as a doctor? where did the passion come from? And I think that I've always been somebody that was quite good at a lot of different things, and so I could have gone almost in any direction, but I had to look inside and think about my core values and what I wanted to live my life and how I wanted to live my life. And I wanted to live an intentional life, and I knew that how I would do that is working with people and healing people. So I'm lucky enough that I got through med school. I was fine and I still love my job. However, there are a lot of people that are currently in medicine that initially loved it and completely don't like it right now and want to get out as soon as possible. There's so many people that chose medicine, as I said, for the other reasons, the job security, the amount of money that we make as doctors, and right now completely regret their decision. But once again, you're now 6 years into the degree, or you've been working for 8 years and you want to leave it. You know, it's a very difficult decision to make. The fifth thing I wish I knew before I became a doctor was the fact that there is no clear path in this career. What I mean is, I think that a lot of people think that you just graduate med school and then you're a doctor and that's it, you've made it in life. No, there's a series of crossways that you need to go through. Like basically you're going to be climbing a ladder for the rest of your life, pretty much. I'm currently in my internship year, my first internship year. So I've got this year as well as next year to do internship. From then on, I'm going to do community service. After community service, I need to figure out what am I going to do with the rest of my life. Am I going to specialize, and what am I going to specialize in? Am I going to go into business, and am I going to go into research? There's so many avenues that you can do in medicine that it gets overwhelming because you actually don't know which direction to go unless you've seen someone that's been successful in something that you might be good at or you might be interested in. And a lot of people make the mistake that they're only going to be happy once they are consultants or once they are specialists. And that is only around the age of 39, 40. And I don't want to wait until I'm 39, 40 to be happy and to be settled and to be grateful for where I am. So I think that it's something that you need to consider as well. You know, once again, the amount of years that you have to put in is not just 6 years of med school, you're a doctor, you've made it. You are looking at something along the lines of 15 to 20 years of studying in order for you to get to where you want to be. And the question is, are you willing to put it in? Put in the work. Are you willing to put in the work? So yeah, that is the gist of the video. I felt like I really wanted to share this because I wish I had this advice when I was still in high school. I wish I had this advice from somebody that was in medicine, but I didn't know anybody that was a doctor when I was still in high school. No one in my family was a doctor. So I didn't have any of the guidance. So I hope that this video was a bit helpful and gave you insight about what you need to start thinking about if you really want this, so that you don't get in there and you realize this is not for me. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I appreciate you watching until this end. And yeah, please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye. Thank you.